that jet lag lasted 2 to 3 days top. I have not had that experience. I feel a little discombobulated still, a little out of sorts. And so this whole week I feel like has been a bit of a reset and just really easing back into things, not pushing myself too hard, but still trying to be productive and get back into my groove, because I'm someone who really loves routine. And even though it might be counterintuitive, I actually feel the most creative and like I can be the most spontaneous and kind of thrive, if you will, when I have structure and when I have a little bit of a routine, because it just makes me feel kind of grounded. It provides that sort of support and that security so that I can be really creative. And so I am really itching to get back to that, even though I had so much fun while I was visiting my family in Norway and in Iceland. And when we came back, my mom actually came with me and she stayed here with me and Nicholas for the week. And we had dinner in the city one night. We had some cozy, homey dinners here where she watched Bake Off with us, which is our favorite dinner tradition. We love watching Bake Off with dinner. And even though my mom isn't huge on those kinds of shows, she watched it with us and that was really fun. But my highlight of her being here last week was we actually went to Brooklyn, and she used to live in Brooklyn when she was a really little girl. So we went and saw the apartment that she lived in at that time. We went to the park that was right across the street, and it was really special because she was kind of telling me about her memories there, and we talked a lot about my grandma, and I miss my grandma so much. She was a huge part of my life. It was beautiful, and I'm really, really grateful that we had that experience. But now it's been a couple of days, and today is going to be all about sort of meal planning, meal prepping, tidying the home, putting all my laundry and all that stuff away, and just kind of getting my home space in order so that I can really jump back into things next week. So that is my plan for today. Earlier this morning, I had a bowl of oatmeal, and I love to make it with a mixture of both water and some sort of plant milk, especially if there's one that's high in protein like pea milk or soy milk. It just makes it feel a little bit more substantial and keeps me fuller for longer. I also like to top my oatmeal with a lot of fiber-rich, tasty toppings like fresh fruit. On this day, I did mango, some blueberries, ground flax seeds, and then my favorite part of a bowl of oatmeal, peanut butter. So did that, and it was so good. Even though oatmeal might be considered a bit of a basic breakfast, I prefer to use the word classic. I love that combination of like fruit, nut butter, some chia seeds or flax seeds, and oats. I just feel like it's such a grounding, delicious, hearty breakfast that I really look forward to. And there's something about that combo that just makes me feel very taken care of and nourished. So that's what I love to make when I've been away for a while or out of my routine. I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to that feeling of just having a certain meal that makes you feel like you're home and like, you know, things are normal, if you will. I feel like oatmeal is that meal for me. So I did that. After that, I kind of tinkered around. I got myself ready for the day, and I actually prepped some bread, which I will show you how I did that later, because when I was in Iceland, they had, and Norway actually, such good bread. Like even just the regular old grocery store bread, like not a fancy bakery bread that we had in Oslo, was so delicious. And I want to get better at baking bread, because even though I love the convenience of store-bought bread and I love going to bakeries and getting like a really nice sourdough, I feel like prepackaged bread, while it's super convenient and I will always use it, it does tend to have a lot of ingredients. And then bakery bread, while I will always love it and always treat myself to it as often as I possibly can, it's a bit expensive. So I'm hoping that I can sort of get into a routine of making homemade bread, making sort of a couple of loaves, freezing them, using them as I need. I like that you can just do minimal ingredients, high quality ingredients, and it's not as expensive as going to a bakery. So I'm going to start practicing that. I feel like everyone was doing this a couple of years ago, and I'm definitely a bit late. I'm not an expert bread maker at all. I love baking. I love making cookies and cakes and pie. I love making pie and quiche, as you guys saw in a recent video, but bread. Although I do have a bagel recipe from back in the day that I love. I just haven't made it in a while. I'll link that below if you guys want to make homemade bagels. But bread in general is something that I've been, I've had on my list for a while as a skill I want to learn. So we're gonna see. We'll see how it goes. I'm starting with a very easy loaf that I already started prepping here today, so I'll show you that. But first I kind of got myself ready for the day, and I did one of those very important post-travel showers. Time to take that shower. You exfoliate and you shave and you deep condition and you just do the most, and it feels so good. And again, it's one of those things that just signals to my brain like I'm home, we're back now, and it's just a really nice feeling. I've been making a DIY body scrub since literally since I was like 11 or 12 years old. Maybe even that's too soon to be exfoliating, I don't know. But I had a book from The Body Shop and it had all these homemade beauty treatments that you could make. And I loved making homemade salt scrubs and sugar scrubs ever since I was around that age. And I've been doing it ever since. So I made one just using a very simple combination of sugar and a few drops of olive oil. Sometimes I'll do the Osea body oil if I want it to smell really nice and citrusy. But today I just did a couple drops of olive oil, and you mix that all together until the sugar is kind of hydrated with the oil and it turns into this really nice scrub. And so you're in the shower, you get your body all wet, and then you just sort of scrub yourself down, gets rid of all of the kind of surface dead skin, and it really makes it perfect if you want to like shave your legs afterwards and then moisturize. It really helps the moisturizer to sink in and penetrate into your skin. And then after shower, I always put on my deodorant, and you guys know that I love Native, so I teamed up with them because they're offering you guys 20% off your order. The one that I've been using and I used all trip long was the lilac and white tea scent. This is a brand new one that I just got in the mail because I needed to replenish it ASAP. I love this scent so much. It's very floral, it's very soft. I'm obsessed with it, so much so that I got the matching body wash. Before this, I had the gummy bear scent, which seriously smells like real actual gummy bears. Native products are made with very familiar ingredients, and I think it's cool because they show you sort of what the purpose of those ingredients are. So for example, there's citric acid, and it's food grade citric acid to help balance the pH of your skin. There's food grade salt, there's cleansing salt, there's coconut oil. And that's also what I like about the deodorants. They're aluminum free, they're paraben free, they're cruelty free, and they're vegan, but they also are made with very familiar ingredients like coconut oil and shea butter. They feel dry when you're applying them. It's not sticky or tacky, and the scent lasts for such a long time. One of my favorites from last year was the coconut and vanilla. This is the summer scent for me. And then I also got one of the sensitive skin formulas, and this is the aloe and green tea scent, which I tried for the first time last year, and I absolutely love this one as well. So both of these are pretty nostalgic for me. These come in plastic-free packaging. So every time you use one of Native's plastic-free deodorants, it's the exact same deodorant, but it saves 37 grams of single-use plastic with each one. So that's just one little way that you can really make a difference in terms of reducing single-use plastic in your daily beauty routine. So if you guys want to try Native, definitely check out the link in the description box below and use my code. That will get you 20% off your first order of Native, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. For lunch on this day, I just reheated some leftovers from the night before. I made this pasta from the Minimalist Baker, and I'll link the recipe below. It was a lightened up kind of fettuccine alfredo style sauce, but it doesn't have any nuts, so it was kind of fun to try a new recipe. And hers has roasted tomatoes, and I also added some pump food to it. So I just reheated that quickly, and I made a very simple salad with just some mixed greens and my 1-minute champagne vinaigrette, which I will also link below. I topped the pasta with lots of nutritional yeast, and this was my lunch. It was so good, and I love having leftovers for lunch because this was like 5 minutes. A little bit later now, and my entire apartment smells like freshly baked bread. I'm not sure that I did the best job. I definitely struggled a little bit with shaping the loaves. I basically found a recipe online called The Easiest Bread You Will Ever Make. It's from a brand called King Arthur, which you've probably seen their flours at the grocery stores in the US. And they make regular flour, organic flour, bread flour, and a couple different specialty blends as well. And so you want to use bread flour for this because it has a higher gluten content. Gluten is the protein that's in wheat, and so bread flour has a higher amount of the protein. I think this one is like 12%, and it just makes for a really nice kind of crumb structure and a nice chew to the bread. I actually found a YouTube video that corresponds with the recipe that I watched as I was doing it, and I have to say, I know I'm a little bit biased because I am a YouTuber, but I think YouTube is one of the best ways to learn to properly cook, because as much as I love TikTok and I love short form content, I do think that there's something that you kind of miss by it going so quick, and you have to rewatch it a bunch of times, and even though the recipe might be written out or linked, it's just not enough time to really get a feel for the little details that are required to do something properly. And it makes it so much more fun when you kind of feel like you really know what you're doing and you feel well briefed. You know what I mean? I personally just feel more confident in the kitchen after watching a tutorial on YouTube. I will link both the recipe and the recipe video that I followed in the description box below, but just quickly what I did was I mixed together the dry ingredients. It was bread flour, a little bit of salt, a little bit of sugar, and instant yeast. Mix that all together with some lukewarm water, and it's gonna form kind of like a shaggy dough like this. And once it basically comes together, then you overturn it onto a lightly floured countertop. This is the fun part. We're gonna knead it for about 6 minutes. I usually have some kind of music or podcast or YouTube video playing when I do stuff like this, but I find it to be really fun because honestly, it reminds me of being a kid and making art projects with my hands and playing with Play-Doh. It's really cool to watch the dough transform into something that is rough and shaggy and kind of dry into something that is, you know, smooth and kind of buoyant and marshmallowy and puffy. And then you let it rest. You wanna cover it so that the dough doesn't dry out, and it will double in size and get even more puffy like this. This was the hard part, you guys. I'm supposed to be rolling it into a loaf. It did not look the way his did, so I have quite a bit of practicing that I need to do here. If you have any tips for freeform loaf shaping or any bread baking resources that you found really helpful, I would love to know, so leave them in the comments below. After shaping the dough into 2 loaves, you let it rest one more time and then lightly dust the top of each loaf with some flour and score the top so that the steam can escape from the bread while it's baking. One thing that's cool about this recipe is they recommend putting a pan of hot water on the second rack in the oven, and that will create steam while the bread bakes, and that's supposed to create a really nice crust. So I tried it out and it worked really well. The bread should be hollow sounding when you knock on the bottom of it. It should be nice and golden brown all the way around, and that's a good indication that you have a nice crust and the bread is cooked all the way through. Ooh, that does not look bad. He said it's gonna have a bit more of a closed structure than some other kinds of bread because it's like a very easy recipe, but it has a really nice crust. It's good, it's very simple. I wonder if I want to add a little bit more salt next time. I do kind of miss the tanginess of sourdough because that's normally my favorite kind of bread, especially if you're going to have a white loaf of bread, but I'm not quite ready to experiment with starter and all of that. But I'm really glad that I have this recipe in my repertoire because I want to practice it a few more times, maybe turn it into baguette. I feel like this would be a good baguette if I just made a longer version of it. It's going to be really good on the BLTs. For a snack on this day, I had these sour cream and onion sun poppers. They're vegan, and even though they look very simple, they're very addictive. So I've been loving these. I also had half of one of these vegan protein shakes. Nicholas gets these from Amazon in bulk, so I had half of one of those. And then I always like to put on a ambient white noise background something or other on the TV. There's so many on YouTube, and sometimes we'll do like a beach scene, or we'll do a cafe in Paris, or we'll do a rainforest like this with rain sounds. It's really soothing and it creates a nice atmosphere in the home. After that, I lit some candles and got started on dinner. On this day, I was making kind of a BLT to go along with the bread that I made earlier, but my grocery store didn't have the Fakin' Bacon from Lightlife that I normally get, so I tried to make a version of my own. I just took the tempeh and I marinated it with some garlic powder, smoked paprika, sriracha, maple syrup, soy sauce, and a little bit of sesame oil. I added some water to that and just mixed it all together, and I let that sit for a while. And then what you want to do is steam it with all of the marinade that you make, because tempeh can be quite close textured. So steaming it and letting all of that liquid absorb into the tempeh will not only add a lot more flavor, but it will also help to improve the texture of tempeh. This is my 1-minute sauce recipe. I added some scallions to it, but I will put that recipe below because it's a really nice, simple tahini sauce that can be used as a salad dressing. And that was dinner. Of course, we watched Bake Off while enjoying our dinner because we are obsessed. We're still not over it. We still have a couple more seasons to go. So that is what we watched while having dinner, and this was really, really good. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing what I eat in a day. Comment below and let me know what the best thing that you ate today was. And if you have any questions, make sure to leave those in the comments as well. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in a video very soon. Bye.